So the next item here on the program this morning will be a panel session where the topic is the state of science integrity. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the moderator, Ben Scusi, who is a science and technology journalist and a writer with 15 years experience in the scientific publishing community. He holds a Master of Science degree in Science Communications and a PhD in Applied Mathematics. And he has worked as an editor for the Institute of Physics, publishing in Science and Technology, and has written more than 600 featured articles about various popular science topics. And he has also contributed to the Hybrid Laureate Forum blog. So Ben, I let you introduce your panel, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's been a long, very fruitful week of discussions and everything, but I'm imagining that the energy levels are somewhat low at the moment. So I was thinking, what can I do about that? And a friend of mine is a choir mistress, and she does a little exercise. So I was hoping we could do that just before I introduce the panelists. A little bit of a weird one, but let's try it. So I hope everyone knows Hit the Road, Jack, the song. So hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. That one. Sorry, I've lost my voice a bit. So if we could all sing that together, that'd be great. After 3. 1, 2, 3. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. All right, that's good. Now let's try and do it whilst quacking. Don't sing the lyrics, just quack. Okay, like a duck. Ready? After 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, that sounded pretty good. All right, one more. Odd one. How about like a bee, buzzing like a bee? Okay? Ready? After 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, that was really good. So now I think you're warm enough to really go for it. Let's do it with the lyrics, and this will be the last one, okay? 1, 2, 3. Hit. All right, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's me made up. I'm happy now. So as you might be able to tell, I've got a little bit of a cold. It's the worst type of cold. It's man flu. So technically, I should be in accident and emergency right now. It's horrendous. But luckily, I've got a couple of advantages. I've got a fantastic topic. We're going to be talking about the state of science integrity. And I've got a wonderful panel. So if the panelists would like to make it to the stage, please, we could give them a round of applause. Brilliant. So I'm sure everyone here conducts their research with fantastic scientific integrity. No problems here. But at the same time, I'm sure you've heard in the news about examples where there have been falsification of data and high-profile retractions and things like that. I'm sure you get emails and perhaps even phone calls from journals you've never heard of asking you to contribute or become their editor. These are predatory journals. You also probably have to go through a lot of papers that are absolute nonsense or just very poorly written or not good science at all. These can be from paper mills and places like that. So we've all been touched by bad actors in science. And so I feel this is a really important topic for us to discuss today. So could we put up the slide, please? So we've got a few things we're going to go through. So we're going to first ask, what does science conducted with integrity look like? Other than outright fraud and plagiarism, what are the bad practices that you need to be aware of as young scientists and potentially avoid yourselves? We'll look at how are these bad practices being exposed now by the likes of our panelists. What's the extent of the problem, and does it differ between different subjects, mathematics, computer science, and other ones as well? And then how should this issue be dealt with going forward? So, without further ado, I think we should introduce our panel finally, after all my skit. So could we start by just introducing yourselves and saying why you're interested in science integrity? If we could start with you, Lonnie.
Yes, my name is Lonnie Besançon. I'm an assistant professor in data visualization at Linköping University in Sweden. And I got into misconduct finding and looking at it because some of the papers that I was reading during COVID were a bit problematic. And I have a methodological background also. So I started looking into this more, and I've now discovered quite a few problematic papers, around a few thousands, in different fields, not always, actually not in mine at all. And I've been reporting on them for a while and talking about this online a lot. So yeah, I think it's important to do it. So I'm happy to be here today.
Awesome, thank you. And then, Yun-Sang, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Yun-Sang Lee. I work at Springer Nature as scientific publisher as a part of Research Integrity Group, specifically for a prevention team. I mean, my main task is to analyze data, especially patterns in data for problematic papers or problematic individuals, and to give a kind of like insights on better decision, business decision. And that's my main task. And just for information, as many of you here, I also came from academic background. As a computational chemist, I spent like several years as a PhD and postdocs as well. I mean, I have to admit that at the time I had no clue about how serious, how widespread the problem is, research integrity problems are, and even I don't know what research integrity is at the time. But after joining this industry, publishing industry, I realized that this is serious. This is crazy. So today I really would like to share some insights on what's happening behind the scene, and I'd like to discuss with all of you how we can collaborate together to uphold research integrity. Yeah, I really look forward to having a nice discussion.
I'm sure we'll get onto that, definitely. And finally, Yukari.
My name is Yukari Ito, and I'm a mathematician, and I'm a professor of the University of Tokyo. And I'm working at the Institute of the Physics and Mathematics of the Universe. Then there are many mathematicians, also physicists. And in our institute, the number of the paper of the physicists and also number of the paper by mathematician is completely different. And the way of the publishing also different. So I feel the difficulty of the compared to the other people in the institute also. And also I'm doing editor of the mathematical journal of the Math Society of Japan. And I saw the math publishing is I think it is good, better. And yeah, I want to talk to you. And also I am a president of Asian Oceania Women in Math. And there are some word publish or perish. It works for the younger generation also, and to get some good position and have some good pride and so on. But we have many life events when we are young, especially for women. So there are some problem, but we want to resolve this kind of problem here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those introductions. I'd like to start on a positive note, I think. So what does science conducted with integrity look like? I mean, like Unsang was saying, I'm not entirely sure everyone knows exactly what research integrity is, really. So what does science conducted with integrity look like? Does anyone want to take that? That one?
Yeah, maybe let me start.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, all the individuals through the peer review process have their own roles for research integrity, and they have their own responsibilities. But I mean, as far as I know, many of you here are very young early career researchers. So maybe I would focus more on best practices as an author rather than reviewer editor. But if you have a question regarding reviewer editor, then please come to me later. Okay. So I mean, you may or you may not heard of COPE. COPE means it stands for the Committee of Publishing Ethics, which is a global organization of to support researchers and publishers for a better research integrity, and also provide some very streamlined guideline for research integrity. And based on this COPE guidance, there are many things that authors have to keep in mind when they publish a paper. For example, I mean, it's very trivial. It's very obvious that you have to ensure fully transparent authorship, including authorship changes, and also you have to declare any conflict of interest when you have any, if there is, when you publish paper, and obviously you have to cite properly your resources. This is very obvious one. The next thing I want to say is, I personally think very important, especially in the field of mathematics and natural science, share your data, especially for computer science. If possible, share your code as well, and declare the data availability as much as you can. This is very important. I mean, apart from these very classic things, new risks recently have emerged with the very rapid development of AI tools, sometimes even authors without realizing it. The COPE, according to COPE guidance, AI cannot be author. Of course, you can use AI to help. AI can help your research. AI can help you write a paper, but AI cannot be an author. And if you use AI, you have to declare clearly how you use AI, which tool you used, and if possible, you can also share your prompts of AI. So full transparency in AI usage is the key here. So I really want to say here that authors have to keep this in mind. And I mean, this is something, maybe Loni says something more about it, but I also want to say that don't be afraid of retractions and corrections, which is caused by, for example, honest error. I mean, I totally understand. I would have worried about my reputational damage if I had to publish correction or if I had to retract my publications. But I mean, everyone can make a mistake. And publishers always try to distinguish retractions or corrections made by honest error and made by research integrity. So don't worry about this. And I think the responsible post-publication action by author is most somehow constructive way to achieve a kind of high standards of research integrity. Yeah, that's something I want to mention, especially for young researchers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Does anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, I can add to that. I mean, I'm full on with you that we shouldn't see correction of papers or retraction of papers as a problem. If there's a mistake we've done in our papers, we should correct it because it's the body of knowledge that we've created together that the world is supposed to use. So if there is an error somewhere, we should be correcting it. And I'm actually happy to report that I had to correct a paper last year. So I do what I preach a little bit. And it was not stressful at all. I was contacted by the publisher because there was a tiny mistake in our data that we shared so people could find it out. And we just misclassified one data point, and we had to change that. And now it's been changed, and there hasn't been any damage to my reputation. But I agree to exactly on what you said about best practices. Transparency is key. When in doubt, share. Right? I think this is one thing that I can say confidently. If you don't know if you should be sharing or not, just in doubt, just share it. If you can, of course. If it's data that can't be shared because there's anonymization problems, don't share it, but explain why you're not sharing it, right? Be transparent about everything as much as you can. It can't hurt you.
Yeah. And I recommend everyone look up the principles of open science after this if they're interested further in this kind of best practices in terms of science conduct. So I was hoping we could do a Slido poll, if that's all right with you tech guys. Could we do that now? Get the QR code up. Aha. So everyone is, look at that. It's like being at Glastonbury. Brilliant. So the question for the Slido poll is, which of these do you feel is the most significant threat to research integrity? Fabricating or falsifying data, plagiarism, research mistakes, honest research mistakes, conflicts of interests, or mass-produced generative AI papers? And you have a few seconds to figure it out. Can we open the voting, please?
That would make it easier.
Yeah. Active poll.
That's active.
Oof. Oh, okay. It's interesting. I genuinely thought the generative AI papers would be top of the
Me too.
the list, but fabricating and falsifying data is very much in your remit as a scientific sleuth.
Yes.
So we'll just wait till the polls finish. But I think it's pretty clear that number one is fabricating and falsifying data. So that is your main kind of.
It's one of the big things I look at.
By day, of course, you're a researcher, but by night, you're a scientific
Sleuth, yes, absolutely.
So could you tell us a little bit about your sleuthing efforts? Maybe.
Yes. So sleuthing is what journalists coined, I think, pretty much for this activity of finding fraud in research papers. And so it's something I do on the side. It's not part of my job, although I think should be part of my job, right? Like looking at papers and criticizing them and reviewing them. I think that should be part of a scientist's mandate, but it's a little bit complicated these days because there's lots of conflicts when you do these kind of things. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised by the poll result. I mean, and I think some of the things are not mutually exclusive, right? Like the mass-produced Gen AI papers, they usually contain fabricated data. I strongly advise looking at some of the examples that are online that show that everything is pretty much invented. Like you could see the image, and it was a big thing on Retraction Watch, a website tracking this, of the paper with the rat that had like a completely wrong anatomy. And like it was all generated by AI, and they were just trying to show what was in the rat. And I mean, I'll let you look it up, and it's pretty funny. The rat had completely wrong anatomy. It was great. Fantastic. But yeah, I think fabricating data is something that's really problematic. I mean, the Gen AI papers, for now, we can't really detect them easily, except the obvious lazy cases of people who don't do an effort. Like people also copy-paste the regenerate response from ChatGPT into their paper, for instance. But these usually, like the ones that are from paper mills, often are found out quite easily. I think the worst thing is when we have papers that have a massive impact that all rely on completely fabricated data, and that has happened a lot, unfortunately. There's lots of fields that have been plagued by this. In medical research, Alzheimer research, for instance, has had a massive scandal about this in the last couple of years. And it's terrible, right? Because people's lives will be impacted by this, all for someone's career or ego. It's pretty sad.
That's absolutely horrendous, yeah. And you've obviously been involved in some pretty high-profile cases.
Yes, on COVID and hydroxychloroquine, which was a big thing in 2020 that Trump took on because there was this paper in the south of France from a team that has been just massively producing churning out papers. The head of the institute published more than 2,900 papers in his career. I'll let you imagine what this represents per day. It's approximately one paper every 1.5 days, I think. Very quick writer and reader, apparently. And in this case, there's been some data, let's say, massaging and ethical approval lies. So these studies were not approved and they were conducted on human beings. So it led to a massive case now in France. And it has already 47 retractions for ethical misconduct. So, and around 950 papers signaled on PubPeer and other websites like this.
Wow.
Yes.
For those that don't know, PubPeer is a post-publication website where people can
Peer review.
peer review, but after the fact.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. You're a member of the Springer Nature Research Integrity Prevention Team. Bit of a mouthful, that's why I've got it on the card. You must come across a lot of different bad practices as well. I was hoping you could maybe give an example or two.
There are tons of many different types of research integrity breaches we can see from manuscript. For example, data fabrication is one of the example, which is kind of challenging tasks as a publisher to tackle because identifying a data fabrication requires often expertise in the field of study and also in-depth analysis, what is wrong in the data. I mean, the problem is we are getting this kind of problematic papers like in a massive scale, not a single instance. So it's really hard to tackle the data fabrication. Apart from that, I mean, of course, plagiarism is one of the classic problems, which is though less and less prominent these days because of the AI tool. I mean, of course, you can paraphrase the published articles by using AI tool, which leads to another problem named as torture phrases. I don't know whether you have heard about torture phrases. Oh, we don't have it.
Please explain
what
the phrases to everyone,
So,
just in case.
when someone wants to plagiarize a certain published article, and they want to avoid the manuscript to be detected by some plagiarism detection tool, they ask AI to paraphrase the published article. Sometimes AI tools do very bad jobs, like paraphrasing a very well-defined word into very weird words. For example, machine learning into machine studying. Yeah, and what else?
I have a few.
Yep. Yeah. You can.
Invulnerable framework for immune system. Herbal language processing for natural language processing. Random forest plot changed to arbitrary backward chart. This kind of stuff. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It looks really funny, but surprisingly, we have tons of submission with these torture phrases. Yeah.
So how do you go about?
Yeah. So maybe if I have a chance, I can explain how we are tackling this kind of problems.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have a tool to detect this kind of torture phrases to filter out from our submission systems. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is another example. Of course, AI generate text, AI generate images, a big problem which result in obviously a fake science, and we also see recently very many cases like irrelevant references. I mean, because some people really cite the work, either the self-citation, include self-citations of unrelated work, or cite someone else irrelevant reference to inflate their citation profile, which is a very big problem. And this all kind of things, as I said, the biggest problem is that we have tons this kind of submissions in a massive scale, which makes it very difficult to tackle as a publisher. Yep.
I'm glad you mentioned citations because I was looking up the major problems in mathematics to do with research integrity. And the main one that I found was a study by Science where they found several citation cartels, which hopefully we can explain a little bit more in a little while. But essentially, they are where a group of scientists kind of bandy together to cite one another and boost a university's ranking in a particular subject. And in this case, it was mathematics. And it was so pronounced that there was a university that didn't even have a maths department had some of the most highly cited mathematics papers in the world. So that has led to a bit of an investigation into science integrity in mathematics. And there was a press release on Monday from DMV, the German Mathematical Society, and the International Mathematical Union about their own investigation and recommendations to fight bad practices in mathematics. But maybe you can talk about that a little bit, and also to say about the difference between mathematics and the other sciences.
So this is a paper by IMU and ICM. And IMU is the International Math Union, and ICM is the International Council for the Industrial and Applied Mathematics. And they wrote a paper, and it is on the archive, and it will be published in the AMS notice. And they wrote a paper on how to fight the bad publishing in mathematical science, because in 2023, so the alleviate exclude mathematics from the list of highly cited authors. This means the number of the paper on mathematics is not so, has no meaning in some sense, but because the number of the paper by mathematician is fewer than other areas, and also citation number is also fewer. So we cannot distinguish altogether. This is good, but we have to be careful because when you have the recruitment or the evaluation, so many people see the number of papers and number of citations and so on. So they said, so don't use ranking for this. And also they said the need of education for the researchers and also students, and not to do such a behavior. And also maybe we should choose good journal and also. And for example, in our university, we have e-learning of the research integrity to get grant, or before to get grant. So we have some e-learning, but it says some which kind of things are good or bad and so on. So it's very good. And everyone should know that everywhere and all over the world. And also, what is the research evaluation then? Then that is we have to see the content more, and also the activeness of the researchers. So it is very difficult to check it. If you write on many papers, it looks very active, but you have to see content seriously and also some activity and so on. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the paper that you mentioned on the archive contains some fantastic recommendations for mathematicians to ensure that they're conducting their mathematics with integrity.
If I may, I can add something to what Barry said. I mean, it's well known that mathematical science is a kind of known as a slow science, and it was considered as a kind of safe area in terms of research integrity problems, which is not true anymore. I've heard we were alerted recently that the mathematical journal in Springer, like Invenzione Mathematica, have a certain submission, like 5 submissions from a single author in a month with different content. And I mean the situation in computer science, I think a bit different, but I heard that this is not possible in mathematical science. And this is a kind of the changing trend in research integrity, especially depending on the culture and atmosphere of the scientific community, some researchers get pressure to publish more and more papers. Of course, mathematics had been a bit on the safer side, but it can be different depending on the culture. So I would like to say that something is changing at the moment.
Yeah.
A long time ago, there is no archive, and we have to send papers to personally, and we can discuss more and more. But nowadays, so you can see many papers every day. So this gives us many pressures to publish too many
Exactly.
papers and so on. But on the other hand, so the mathematics is entirely, in some sense, the result is entirely. So we need a very big library for mathematicians. We collect many papers and books. And for example, when I wrote a master thesis, I watched the journal in 19th century. And it is older than university, but I could see it. So it's interesting, but we need such old data also. But this is different from other areas. So,
Do you think other areas can learn from mathematics to slow things down a little?
Yeah. But nowadays, many students don't go to the library, so they watched archives, and so on. So, but archive is not a paper in some sense. So in mathematics paper, we refer, so in a reference, we use non-archive paper. Most of the reference is not non-archive.
Okay.
So if it is published, then we believe it is true or not. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And Sang, I was wondering, what more can publishers be doing to fight bad and fraudulent science? I know that there was an example of a publisher working with a sleuth recently from Springer Nature that,
Sure.
that it discovered a paper mill.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we understand that the full responsibility of keeping the system and the peer review process safe enough for researcher to keep for better research integrity. And Springer Nature had invested so much money recently to research integrity. Like currently, I guess more than 50 people are working, internal staffs are working for research integrity, including technical developers. And I mean, amongst all our efforts, we are providing various training materials as a first line of defense to not only to internal staffs, but also to all of you, like researchers. So if you are unsure of what is the best practice as an author, reviewer, any role, then I encourage you to come visit our website, explore any training opportunities. And beside that, as I said, the problematic submissions come. We receive these problematic submissions as massive scale. So we take this as we take a kind of systematical approach instead of looking it individually. For example, developing a tool, as I said, for tutor phrases and deploying the tool, integrating this tool within this peer review system. For example, we have a tutor phrase detection tool, nonsense text detection tool, AI-generated image text tool, and also irrelevant reference detection. For example, this is AI tool developed by in collaboration with internal AI team, which compares the abstract of the reference and the context of the main text, and then find the relevancy between these two. And then if this reference is not really relevant to the context, then it flags something. Works like this. So we are working to develop many tools in place to systematically tackle these problems. And also, I mean, we are also focusing on analyzing historical data. Apart from detecting something right on the manuscript, but analyzing historical data and something like a predictive model to identify problematic submissions. Because we find that this method offers more promising way, especially in the future, to identify bad problematic papers than detecting AI-generated text. Maybe you know much better than me. These days, it's almost impossible to distinguish AI-generated human-written text. So we are more focusing on the data behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the publishing community is doing quite a lot to try and find these examples of bad practice. What about the sleuthing community? Is that growing? And are you recruiting here?
Yes, yes, always. I think we need more people looking at this. I think it should become part of our job mandates in general. I mean, the first few times I was doing this and run into some problems because it happens. People are not very happy that you criticize their work. I asked my university if they could help me with a potential lawsuit. And, one of the answers back then from that university was that, well, it's not really part of your job to read papers and comment on them. I was like, have you heard of peer review much? The point they were making was that it was papers outside of my field. But most of the things that we find, and I think that's the scary part, is from cheaters, honestly, that are lazy or not very smart, maybe, I don't know, or both. Because it's really extremely simple cases. I mean, tortured phrases is extremely simple. You just read the paper, and this is fake. It's easy to detect. Image duplication cases, some of them are also extremely simple, like people just turn the image around or just copy paste it multiple times. I'm like, really? So, we need more people doing this, but it's complicated because people are afraid of the consequences of it, right? Like there are consequences, and
and it's extra work as well.
It's a lot of work, extra, of course. I mean, I spend hours on this. And you don't really make friends doing it, like the scientists that you talk about, because it's not like you're hunting a particular person, you're looking for practices. But some people see that their career is on the line if they're being found, and then they retaliate with a slap lawsuit, and then you have to go through with it. And well, I mean, we could talk about this. The relationship with publishers is also interesting, to say the least, because we flag a lot of papers, and we get very frustrated that the cases don't move forward. But we also know that they get a lot of papers at submission stage that we never see. So there's also that. And I'm an editor-in-chief of a journal now, so I also know that. But it's complicated. It's complicated. But we try to ask more people to try to join us in a way, like look for papers. You don't have to actively look for misconduct, but more like if you encounter something while looking for papers in your field or something like this and you have a doubt, maybe just post a question on PubPeer. So this post-publication peer review website, just ask the question and you'll see people like me and others, a lot of other sleuths will see that someone commented and will look at this. So then we can figure out what is wrong if something is wrong.
Brilliant. Well, I didn't realize that we only have about 11 minutes left. I was expecting there to be half an hour left by the time we'd finished talking, but we've been getting quite into this. I've got quite a few extra questions, but I'm going to leave those now and open it up to the floor. So could we get the lights to kind of go onto the crowd so we can, and people raise their hands?
Oh wow, that's a lot of questions.
Okay, there's loads. Right. So you've got the box. Could you throw it over to Jan, please, with his hand up there?
Thank you. I've got one question which goes towards the papers which were retracted, but still being cited.
Oh yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts about it? I just checked the retraction watch and I found papers with having more than 1,000 citations after being retracted.
Horrendous. Yeah, you go.
Okay, go. Yeah, that happens a lot, unfortunately. And it's so there's a couple of tools that help you detect this. The problematic paper screener, which is a tool online to find also tortured phrases, has what Guillaume Cabanac, it's one of its main authors, that's called the feet of clay detector, which finds these pretty much. Now there's multiple ways that you would cite a retracted paper. I cite retracted papers a lot in my research integrity papers, obviously. So there's always a manual check that needs to be done about why this citation was made in the first place. Now, it could be that you cite a paper before it got retracted, and then it gets retracted, and that affects your results too. That's one big problem. But it's true that it happens a lot, and we had an analysis as a preprint, because we couldn't really be bothered to publish it, looking at how this happened with COVID-19 in particular, and that was scary. It happened a lot. Most of the retracted paper continued being cited months after they had been retracted, and it was not critical citations. It was not to say this paper that was talking about this had been retracted. So it's a bit scary, and I don't know what we can do about it. It's really hard.
Okay. We had someone over on this side. Could we? Yeah.
I would like to draw your attention to the largest databases we have. Let me start with Mass Reviews or Mass Signet, and on the other hand, we have Zentralblatt. So Zentralblatt is the older one. The Mass Signet came as an offspring during Nazi time, but it didn't cover at that time the Jewish. Were not allowed, and it goes back essentially to the initiative of Kurand and Springer. But the problem there we have at the moment, and I'm a member of the committee of Zentralblatt Open, is to decide which journals to cover. It's very complicated. There are a huge number, everyone is invited to get in the reviewers or editors, and that's a problem. An evaluation of even the publishers, published journals. And behind that, I would also say it is necessary also not only to identify the networks of quotation, but also to identify those preferred publication in journals. They are also networks. And because it's essentially a disadvantage to young people. A problem also which we found was the archive. How to cover? We have to cover archive, at least now, because a lot of publications take too long going to normal journals.
Okay. So that's more of a comment than a... Yeah.
Probably,
No,
I want to...
it's highly relevant, absolutely.
Yes, because it's an important part.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we have another question? Let's go this side. Let's just go back and forth like crazy. How about the guy at the back there, just to create some extra work for our poor lady there? That's it.
Thank you. Here in HLF, everyone is doing, we assume, good science. What about in many universities, many whole countries where there are essentially quantitative requirements? People may be ethical themselves, but they are forced, for example, to publish 10 papers per year in huge parts of the world. What can we do about this in these kind of requirements which are institutional, which are not about bad researchers necessarily?
That's very eloquent. I don't think I need to translate that at all. Who would like to take that one up?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. As I said, in some cultures, yeah, we understand that there are like a lot of pressure to publish many papers, especially from institution or funding body. I mean, we are trying to work together closely with institutions and funding body to release this kind of pressure. But I mean, it's very long way to go, right? So it really depends on the culture, country, and everything. So I mean, as a publisher, currently there's nothing much we can do, but what we can do is just to provide a safer platform for researchers.
Okay. Right, let's go back to this side. The guy on the furthest right. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. I'll combine. I have two quick questions. The first one is for Yunsang. You said in computer science may be different, but in mathematics, it's impossible to create 5 papers a month. In what sense do you think that computer science can create 5 papers a month? Where did this come from?
Oh, yeah.
Let me give the second question also, it's for everyone. ACM is trying to coordinate a multi-society effort to hit on this problem. IEEE, CRA, Usenix, AAAI, and so on. What do you think the role of scholarly societies, learned societies like ACM can do to address this problem, possibly beyond what we're already doing?
Yeah, maybe I can answer the first question. I'm not saying a computer scientist can write a paper, five papers per month. What I'm saying is that computer science has been a big target of paper mill for a long time, since early 2010. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's related to AI, but paper mills are targeting, in many cases, computer science and medical science. And we see this massive amount, large volume of fake papers, problematic papers in computer science. That's what I meant. I'm not saying computer science can write up 5 papers per month. Yeah.
Maybe Lonnie could take the.
What scholars societies could do.
Yeah.
Pay for my lawsuits. That'd be nice. No, I'm kidding. I think there's a tremendous amount of support that should be given to you, because it seems to me from the data that I have and the group of people I work with, that a lot of this sleuthing effort is done by a young researcher whose career is, pretty much on the line for a while. So support these people in one way or another, help them with some best practices, give them access to tools if there's any kind of tool that they can use, but also be ready to support them and help them maybe give them a bit of a platform to talk about what it is that they're doing, because it's a hard thing to do with a lot of risks and close to zero credit. So it's complicated. So I think that would be good.
We're giving you credit here. Right, there was a lady, a person with a stripy shirt who put her hand up straight away.
Hi, thanks for the amazing discussion. It was very interesting. I think a big challenge young researchers face is that they might end up with a supervisor that is performing scientific misconduct, but they're just not sure about it because it's a very complex topic and they think like they don't fully understand it, or the supervisor even tells them that everyone does that in their paper, throwing out some data. So how can these young researchers decide for themselves if what they're seeing is actual misconduct or not?
Great question. I got the feeling Lonnie wanted to answer.
I have a suggestion always, but maybe you want to go first?
Yeah, so for young researchers, the publishing first paper is very important, but you have to find one big problem behind it. Then you can continue your research and so on. So, and it should be interesting and original. Yeah.
I think one thing you can do for sure if you're unsure that what it is that's happening in your lab is dodgy for some reason, is ask people like me. There's plenty of people like me in this living community. Ask them, send them an email. They won't risk your career for this. And there's also a couple of initiatives in the UK that was bullied into bad science that was started that can support younger academics with problems in their lab. So reach out to some of these people in initiative, and if you send me an email, if I don't know the field and I can't help you, I'll forward it to someone who can, and we'll make sure you're protected all through that one way or another. So do reach out.
Cool. Right. A hand went flying up over there.
Hello there. Okay, so this is specifically for, ooh, my. Yoon Sang. So for context, Springer has like 100,000 editors and 3,000 journals. How do you guys handle, or how would you handle like conflicts of interests of editors fast-tracking papers through? Do they go through the same process? Does it pass through yours first?
Yeah, we are trying to tackle this problem systematically again. I mean, we're working with AI Lab to check conflict of interest in the submission level, of course. There is a big challenge there. I mean, disambiguation is a big issue in the research community. We are not a bank industry. The one needs to provide ID when they submit submissions, manuscripts. So it's very tricky to identify a person in research community. That's why it's a bit challenging. We have to include AI to tackle this, but we are trying to tackle this by a systematic approach.
Yeah, it's a big problem. But, right, I think we've got time for one more question, perhaps. So, I don't know. On this side, not left as it is, right? This young person here. I don't want to give you too much work.
Yeah, so we were talking about the strength of different citations, like some papers matter perhaps more in contributing to an idea than others. So do you think it's necessary to build a tool that classifies, how important is each citation for a paper?
That's a good point.
Wow. I've never thought about it.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be interesting, but one day it will become a metric, right? And the day it becomes a metric, then people will game that. So personally, and it's been a strong stand of mine for years, I'm against all kind of metrics. If people need my entry decks and if my work is good, then I probably don't want to work with them. And that's my stand, it's personal. I'm not saying that's the one you should be adopting. I see the point of trying to analyze citations and the importance and if language is critical or not, because for instance, this one terrible COVID-19 paper on hydroxychloroquine had been cited 7,000 times. And most of the citations today are not good, but it's still being cited. And we should maybe factor that in some way. But I think if we make a metric out of this, eventually people will game it. It's always been the case.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. Right. Our time is definitely up. The time has gone red. So, thanks ever so much for your time. Would you join me in thanking our panelists, please?